Starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Ayin Aleph in haGuela. We're talking about the inyan of being Melamed Zchus on Rishayim. The last Siman he spoke about Haman, who said that the reason why there are no tzaddikim among the Jews is even the tzaddikim among them are Melamed Zchus on them. He brought the Rambam. The Rambam says that the reason why you're not supposed to be Melamed Zchus, he says that when you have someone who's known to be a Rasha, you're not supposed to be Melamed Zchus. The Chinuch said the reason was because if you are, being Melamed Zchus, it brings about peace, and we don't want to bring about peace with people like this. Okay, Ayin Aleph. V'yomer Navi Malachi. Oz nidbru yirei Hashem yishal reyehu vayakshiv Hashem vayishma. This is the pasuk that this whole sefer started out with. That there's going to come a time when the Rishayim are going to say, Shav avoid Elokim. It's worthless to serve Hashem. Uma betzaki shamarnu mishmartoi. We'll see the whole pasuk there. So on that, the Yirei Hashem are going to speak among each other, and Vayakshiv Hashem is going to listen to them. Vayishma, and Vayikaseh b'sefer zikaron lefanim. He's going to write down what they say in his book. L'Yirei Hashem u'lechosh v'shmai. Upirish Amar Rikra. Marikra is a commentary, Rishon commentary on Tanakh. And he says, De'az k'sheshoimim Yirei Hashem shenidbru harashayim b'dvarim kashim ho'ela. When the Yirei Hashem hear that the Rishayim spoke these kind of words, nidbarim heim, they're going to speak together. V'oimrim toiv avoid Elokim. They're going to say, no, it's good to serve Hashem. Vayakshiv Hashem vayishma vayikaseh b'sefer zikaron lefanav. Shomei HaKadosh Baruch Hu divrei tzadikim v'divrei Rishayim. Hashem's going to hear both sides. He's going to hear the Rishayim and the tzadikim. V'koisvam b'sefer zikaron lefanav. He's going to write them down in his book, like a contrast between the way Rishayim approach the Torah and the way the tzadikim approach. He says the problem is we know that anything that happens in the world, Hashem knows what happens. This is the lashon of Musaf on Rosh Hashanah. All the things people do and all their thoughts, and the actions of man. Everything you do is written in the book. If you don't believe that Hashem is watching you, you're going against the principles of Yiddishkeit. If that's true, no matter what, there's no difference over here that they're speaking among each other and saying that it's good to serve Hashem or it's bad to serve Hashem. Obviously, that's known to Hashem. What is Malachi saying that Hashem is going to listen? Obviously, he's listening. He says the answer is he's talking about the time that we live in today, a time of Hester Panim, a time when people don't see Hashem openly. And there's actually going to be people who try to confuse you. That there's going to be people in the time before Mashiach, they're going to confuse people's minds and make them think that the Rishayim are good. He says, at that time the Rishayim are going to be successful. The trials will be very great, and it won't be possible to speak to the truth in public. You can't speak in front of the crowds about the real Amunah and be mechazik their Amunah. That's the way it is today. Because of the big strength of the Rishayim, it's hard to speak up against them. The chutzpah of these people, their influence is over the whole world. You can't get up anywhere and speak against them. Okay, Amar Navi. Therefore,
Herman Melville has a nice quote on that.
Yeah? You know it? You remember it?
Yeah, it is. I have to show it to you. It's quite fascinating. Truth is the silliest thing under the sun. Try making a living out of it, and heavens. Oh, I forget the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I texted it to you.
Yeah, I
once.
think so. Yeah, I think
You
so.
read it? Or you
I remember now. Yeah.
It's a nice quote. I mean, he
Yeah.
was mentioning, he was referring to churches, church ministers, but he could also apply it for synagogue, shuls.
Anyway, so Amar Hanavi, Oz Nidbru Yirei Hashem Ishal Rehu. That time, the Yirei Hashem will have to speak privately when they speak about Emunah. The one man to another.
I think it was St. Augustine or St. Jerome said, if an offense comes out of by speaking the truth, it's better that the offense should come than the truth be concealed. You heard that quote?
No. Anyway, she's Chazku Yirei Hashem b'chol toikif. All those who are Yirei Hashem have to be strong. And they have to stand up against the times. Shelo yisu achrei atoim. They shouldn't go after the people who make this mistake. V'achar hashpas roiv ha'olam, after the influence of the most of the world. V'ish es re'ehu yazoru. Each person has to go and help his friend. Uliachiv yoimar chazak. To his brother he shall say, be strong. V'Hashem Yisbarach shehu boichin klayis v'leiv yavchin divreim. Hashem Yisbarach will look into the hearts and he'll understand their words. Uvo'es hanisayin hagadol hazeh. At the time of this great trial, kol echad yasim nafsho b'chapoy. Everyone must take his life into his hands. V'yivdoik pnimius liboy. He should realize that his life depends on what he says and what he thinks. So he has to search his heart. V'yashkiach al dibur, and be careful what he says. Ki b'diburim ho'ela tului mikrei emunah. That in these words that he says, they can affect they can be talking, the principles of emunah could be dependent on them. V'yesh oived olamoy b'shah achas u'v'dibur kal. Someone could chas v'shalom lose his whole olam haba by saying one thing, one small thing. V'zeh she'omar vayakshiv Hashem v'yishma. That's what it means that Hashem listens. Ki rak hu yodea pnimius halev. Only Hashem knows what's in a person's heart. Vayikaseh b'sefer zikaron lefanav li'irei Hashem u'lechosh v'shmoi. It's written in the sefer zikaron. Dayak loymar. He's medayik and he says u'lechosh v'shmoi. Those who think about his name, meaning that not just that it's the words that they say, but even the thoughts are also written in the book. Ki ba'avodah zara ma'anishim gam al machshava. Because for avodah zara, a person is punished even for thoughts. K'damrin b'kedushin daf lamates beis dichsiv laman tfois es b'nei Yisrael b'libam. It says to capture the children of Israel in their hearts. So it means that, in other words, all aveiros in the Torah, if you think about the aveir but you don't actually do it, Hashem won't punish you. But by avodah zara, even if you think about it, thinking is also considered like doing. Thinking about that you're going to do it or believing in it. And he says, "V'kol shekain b'minus." That's by idolatry, but kol shekain today that people believe in heresy. The garua me avodah zara, because that's worse. V'ikara b'machsheves halev. The main thing of heresy is in the heart. It's not something that's dependent on actions or words. So definitely a person will be punished for his thoughts. Not only what he says, the hidden thoughts too, and therefore he has to be careful. So how is this answering the question? Right, we asked that why is this different from any other place? Hashem knows people's deeds and words and thoughts, so why is this different? So he's answering that it's the thoughts. But Hashem knows thoughts all the time, right? So I think this has to do with what he said in the previous simon. The previous simon was, again, about being malamed chus on Rishaim. That sometimes Rishaim, you could approach them in different ways. You could think in your heart, are they really good or are they really bad at the core, right? So Hashem wants you to think that they're bad. And he wants you to have that attitude because that attitude will lead to being separate from them. So the chiddush here is that Hashem will write down in his book not only your words but also your thoughts. Why? Because you could say, okay, the thoughts don't matter. Obviously Hashem knows the thoughts, but the thoughts don't matter. It doesn't matter how you really view the Zionists. As long as you're not a Zionist, it's okay, right? So the answer is no. You have to view them in a bad light. You have to be malamed choiv on them, even in your mind. You shouldn't think in your mind, really they're good. All right. V'hinei darshu Chazal b'Maseches Shabbos daf Samach Gimel Amud Aleph min Haikra de Malachi. Mai u'lechosh v'ishmoi. Chazal take this pasuk that we just quoted, that Hashem writes in his Sefer Zikaron to Yirei Hashem, those who fear Hashem, u'lechosh v'ishmoi, and those who think about His name, or they hold dear, highly His name. So Amar Rabbi Ami, afilu chishev lasos mitzvah v'nenas v'lo yasa. Even if someone planned on doing a mitzvah and then he was prevented from doing it against his will, ma'alag Allah v'kasuv ki lasa. The Torah considers it as if he did it. It gives him credit for doing it. He says, seemingly, this has nothing to do with the nevuah that we're talking about here. The nevuah of Malachi was that the Rishonim are going to say it's vain to serve God, and the Rishonim, the Tzaddikim, are going to say they're going to speak ish el re'ehu, they're going to speak privately, and Hashem will write down their words. What does this have to do with planning to do a mitzvah and not doing it? Where do you see they planned to do anything? They weren't planning. They had a private learning seder, and they learned together, and they talked about Yiras Hashem. What does that have to do with planning? The ulai gam al zeh ramaz hanavi malachi. He says it could be that the remez is shalagoyel hasharuria sheiyah bayom mahem, because of the great scandal of the times, the fact that people are all going after the Zionists. Sometimes you could be like the Satmar rebbe. You could be speaking in Shalashudas and trying to be mashpia on your kehila, and maybe you won't be successful. Maybe Rebbe's being an honor. He says, I don't know. Maybe people won't listen to me. You should still be courageous and keep encourage yourself. And the ois, and keep strong. V'al yipol libam mizeh klal. Don't be sad about this. Why? Ki b'chol oifen chashuv hu b'shamayim. No matter what, even if they don't listen to you, it's still chashuv up in heaven. Chashuv b'shamayim ma'oid. U'maylo olav akastuv ki lo asa. Hashem pretends that it looks at it as if you did it. In other words, just like any mitzvah, if you plan to do a mitzvah and then you got stopped, right, and you couldn't do it. Whatever, you missed the bus, you didn't get there, you couldn't do the mitzvah, right? So you get credit for doing it. So the Rebbe is saying same thing here. Here, when you're trying to speak out against the Rishonim, or you're trying to teach people Emunah, and let's say you don't actually succeed, let's say they don't listen to you, but your attempt to teach them Emunah is also considered as if you did it.